Welcome to the Right Hand Roadmap, the podcast for seconds in command of founder-led companies. I'm your host, Megan Long, owner of Second First. In each episode, we show you the path to success on your journey as the #2 leader in entrepreneurial companies. I am so happy you are here. Today, we are going to look at your business and walk the buyer's journey. Whether you have a product or a service, what does it actually look like to do business with you? The buyer's journey a lot of the time is a marketing concept, but we're going to go a step past that once someone is actually working with you. If I were to take a guess, I would think it's probably rare that you have firsthand experience of what it's like to be on the buying side, to actually be a customer or a client of your own company. And sometimes there are so many glaring issues that it's really easy to overlook more minor problems that might not be noisy until you actually get a customer complaint. Something that maybe from within the business doesn't seem like a big deal. So think of this episode like an exercise. We'll talk about the how together, and then you can go work through this on your own time. I want to start at the very beginning, the very first phone call or the very first email into your business. If you're an e-commerce company, maybe that's the first visit to your website. We're starting from that first touch as a buyer. And I literally want you to take a blank piece of paper or a whiteboard and map this out step by step. I don't want you to skip any step of this process, even if it seems small or insignificant. So we started from that very first phone call, that very first email, whatever that first touch is for a buyer. Then I want you to put every single step of the process down and include timelines. So how much time is passing between each of these steps? How many days are in between each step? And finally, mark down who. So who in your company is interacting with the buyer at each step. You don't have to put an actual person's name. It could just be a role. And I want you to do this all the way down to the last touch. So that's either fulfillment, closing out a project, whatever the goodbye is to your client or your customer. Now, after you map out the entire buyer's journey, start to finish, I want you to look at a few things. Number one is how many people are they interacting with? So are they changing hands a lot? Are they being introduced to someone new multiple times throughout this process? And then number two, are there any points in the process where there is a significant amount of time passing before the next step? And if so, how can you either tighten that timeline or how can you communicate them more through that period? Buyer's remorse sets in as soon as payment is processed, okay? So you really have to keep them engaged in order for them to relax, let their guard down, and actually feel the value that you're giving them. I went through this exercise with the operations leader at a landscaping company, and there were two issues that they uncovered immediately. First was that very first touch. So the person taking the information of a brand new client calling in was an admin position. Then the brand new client who had just given all their information to this admin position had to wait in a queue for a week or more before the design team would contact them to start talking about their project. So during this time, they could have easily called a competitor and started right away. And it also felt kind of like, well, I thought I already gave you this information and now we're starting all over, right? The other issue was that there were 2 to 3 periods of time where they had to wait. So first, I mentioned they had to wait to be contacted by the design team. Then they had to wait for their design to be completed. And once they got the finished product and they were ready to sign off on the proposal, now they had to wait months for the project to actually begin. So each new timeline was this unhappy surprise, and it created this roller coaster effect of them being excited and then frustrated again. So just when they were starting to get excited about their project again, bam, they had another long wait time. And here's the thing about those waiting periods. Silence and time kills deals. So when customers and clients don't hear from you, they either assume you don't really care, that their business isn't important, or they start second guessing their decision. So this landscaping company wasn't just losing potential clients during those gaps. They were actually creating anxiety for the ones that did stick around. So imagine going to a coffee shop, holding a $10 bill in your hand, arm outstretched. You wait in this long line, you finally get to the front, you are just begging for them to take your money for a latte. They take your order and then they point to a spot across the shop where there's another long line. And they say, all right, thanks. You have to go stand in that line now and wait for your coffee. And if you're the manager of that coffee shop and you see these two long lines, a packed shop, you might be thinking, man, we're killing it. Look at all these customers just waiting to hand us money. We must be doing something really great. Meanwhile, they're all bitching about what a not awesome experience all this is. Now, I'm not saying every gap in this buyer's journey is bad. Sometimes having a client or customer wait is absolutely necessary. Custom work takes time. Products need to ship. The question is, are you being intentional about managing expectations and communication during those gaps? So here's your homework. I want you to walk this buyer's journey. Better yet, if you have someone on your team who was not involved with creating your current process, have them walk through it themselves, literally, and report back. So almost like an internal secret shopper. And if you really want to level up, ask a recent customer to walk you through their experience. This can be a very casual conversation of just, hey, I'm trying to improve our process. Can you tell me what it was like working with us? And you'll probably learn more in those 15 minutes than you would in a month of internal meetings. At our last Second First fall retreat, which side note, I would love to have you in the room for the next one. We're about to open up our early bird registration for this year. So keep an eye out for that because, I'm serious. I would absolutely love to have you there. So at our last retreat, one of the report projects that we asked attendees to report on was the buyer's journey and CSat. So I'm going to share with you the 4 questions that we asked every attendee answer in advance of the retreat that then we shared and discussed as part of a bigger roundtable conversation. Number 1, who owns customer or client satisfaction in your organization? How do you measure this? So if you're not measuring CSAT or NPS or anything, this is going to be step 1. And let me pause on that first question for a second. Who owns customer satisfaction? Who owns CSAT in your company? In a lot of small businesses, the answer is everyone, which really means no one. Because if something is everyone's job, that means that it's no one's job. So someone specifically needs to own this. It might be you, it might be your entrepreneur, but it has to be one person looking at this data and really driving the improvements. Number 2, what decisions in the past year have made the most impact, positive or negative, on customer or client satisfaction? Number 3, what complaints or constructive feedback have led to the most significant operations changes in your organization? And number 4, what opportunities do you see in the buyer's journey from first interaction with your business all the way through completion of the engagement or delivery to improve the customer experience? So when you think about your business and what differentiates you from competitors, it's not always going to be your product or your pricing. A lot of times it's the experience. The businesses that make it easy and pleasant to work with are usually the ones winning. So map it out. Find the friction points and start fixing them one at a time. This doesn't have to be urgent. This could be a longer process, but I guarantee it'll make a difference. And your customers and clients will feel the difference, even if they can't actually articulate what has changed. To find show notes and links to anything mentioned in this episode, visit secondfirst.com/59. Be sure to subscribe to catch future episodes and leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening on. And remember, you don't have to navigate being a second in command alone with the right hand roadmap.